Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Horror Movie Podcast. I'm Luke, and I'm joined by
Anna.
And we're a little bit late, but we're here to talk about our movies of 2022. Despite that it's 2023, we've got some movies to talk about.
What can you do?
So we're not talking about movies that came out in 2022 because you didn't watch any.
Unfortunately, I really didn't. I really dropped the ball on it. I mean, halfway through 2022, we decided we were doing this podcast, and I had not seen any 2022 horror movies.
I wanted to do like a 2022 horror movie award show.
Right.
And then I went and I looked at a bunch of different top 10 lists, and I came up with like 40-ish movies, a little less than that. And I had seen like 5 of them.
Right.
And I think you'd seen like 2 of them.
Nope.
So I've watched, speaking of Nope, I didn't watch that. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't finish.
You didn't finish it?
I'm sorry, I let the people down. I didn't finich it.
Everyone was on the edge of their seat.
I know,
waiting.
everyone, yeah.
But so we're just going to talk about all the horror movies we watched in 2022.
Yes.
And considering we both took on the October 31 and 31 challenge, we watched a lot.
Yeah.
But we're still only talking first watch throughs.
Right.
Not going to talk about everything that we covered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have a couple other lists. We have our top 5 favorite movies that we watched this year. And then we have our favorite movie of 2022. But recently we watched Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
The original.
You're right.
From 1980. And The Thing.
Yes.
And if you want to know how we feel about them, next week's episode, if you're paying attention to the calendar, is Friday the 13th. So we will be doing a Friday the 13th special on part 1 and part 2. And then right after that little sneak peek, we're going to talk about like snowed in horror movies, basically. And The Thing is on our list. So we will do more of a deep dive into those movies over the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
But for today, let's just rattle off some movies. You go and then I'll go. And then if we get one that we want to talk about, we'll talk about it a bit. We have all of our Christmas horror movies that we watched, which we've talked about extensively over 2 weeks, over 2 individual episodes. I mean, so if you want to know about those, if you didn't catch those, go back and listen to those. But we saw Scream 5 this year.
Yes.
Which was great.
Yeah.
You didn't see Black Phone, right?
No, I didn't. And I didn't get to finish the book by this episode.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember we talked about that on the podcast, right?
Yes, we did.
Black Phone was great. It was a great way to kick off the year for sure. And then I saw Jaws for the first time. Have you seen Jaws before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I got to see it in theaters, which was awesome.
That's so cool.
And it was,
oh my gosh.
It was so worth the wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know it's a movie that I should have seen by now, but that also makes me not want to see
other movies
until they come to theaters. I had a chance to see The Thing in theaters this year, but it was the day after my knee surgery.
Oh, shoot.
And I was going to go with a friend of mine, and I texted him and was like, there's no way I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
It might have actually been the day of my knee surgery. So
really?
that was kind of a bummer. I would have loved to see that movie in theaters, but what about you?
I mean, first movie I watched in this year was Hush, which was a great movie.
I love Hush.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. And oh man, I could talk for hours about this movie, so I can't get too into it. But oh my gosh, there are so many things in Hush that are, I mean, what is the director's name again?
I don't know.
Okay, he did Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor and Midnight Mass.
Right.
I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I'm so sorry. He is fantastic. He's a genius. But in Hush, one of my favorite things is that the main character is an author, and she's writing a book titled Midnight Mass.
Mike Flanagan.
Yes, Mike Flanagan.
He's writing,
yes,
he's writing Midnight Mass.
So genius. I love it. Which Midnight
Hush
Mass
actually came out a while ago.
It did, yeah.
I really like Hush. I've watched it with a few different people. And I've had some mixed reviews about
definitely.
it. It's definitely not a perfect movie, but I think it's a really creative movie.
Yeah.
So in Hush, the lead character is deaf. So she can't see anything, and she's being stalked.
Right. She can't hear anything.
Yes,
there we go.
Surprisingly enough, deaf people can't see, and blind people can't hear.
Wait.
Surprise, everyone's been getting it wrong. No, so she can't hear anything, and someone is stalking her. So, I mean, just that aspect is terrifying in general.
Sure.
And then you also get to hear her perspective several times throughout the movie, which is just dead silence.
Yeah, definitely.
So Hush is a good movie. And it's a good time of year to watch it. It's not snowy.
Right.
It should have been.
It like has that feeling, you know,
totally
you want to watch it during
she,
wintertime.
She feels very stranded.
Yeah.
And that's a very like common feeling when it's very snowy outside.
Yeah, definitely.
So okay, so Hush. I watched Pearl, which came out this year.
Yeah.
And it was decent. So X and Pearl are related.
Right.
And I won't specifically say how. Go watch them. X came out first, and I think that was the movie you should have watched first. And then Pearl came out. So I don't think that would have adjusted or would have changed how I feel about the movies at all. I give Pearl a 3 out of 5. It was a solid movie. There was some room for improvement though. It's a very slow movie,
right,
which is fine. I don't think being a slow movie makes it a bad movie, but
you do tend to like more like upbeat movies.
Yeah, it definitely depends. When I went to see this movie, I was not in the mood for a slow movie.
Sure, yeah,
and that absolutely factors into it. So it might be worth more than a 3 out of 5. Maybe I'd have to rewatch it, but it's also not a movie I really want to rewatch. Like,
right, sure.
I've seen it. It's there. It's good. It's done. It's
been there, done that.
Very similar to Ari Aster films.
Ooh,
you watch an Ari Aster movie and you're like, don't ever need to watch this.
Yeah, for sure.
Even though I've seen Hereditary like 4 or 5 times.
I know.
But every time I watch it, I'm like, yeah, I'm never watching that movie.
Yes,
again.
Absolutely.
So Pearl definitely had those similar vibes to it.
Yeah, okay, interesting. I didn't realize it was that kind of horror. I think you and I had talked about Pearl and X being more elevated, but I didn't really think about, like, would you consider them? Because we had talked about that, and you said
them elevated horror.
Yeah, you did say that you weren't quite sure what to call them, but that was like the best word you could think of.
Yeah, I feel like they would Pearl more so.
Okay.
Than X.
Sure.
But both of them, kind of. They're like fringe elevated horror.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I have not seen either of them, which is a bummer. But
they're both worth a watch. Yeah. Both came out this year. And we'll kind of, as we get through, we'll talk about it. But 2022 was a fantastic year for horror.
Yeah, for sure. Which I wouldn't know, apparently.
Yeah, because you haven't seen anything.
I was too busy catching up on all the classics that I had never seen before, like the next movies I think that I watched in the year were A Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched the first one, the third one, and the fifth one. Right, yep. New Nightmare. Yes.
Which are the only ones worth watching.
Right.
So I've seen 2. It was a long time ago, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it so much I just abandoned the rest of the franchise.
Sure,
I was done. But those are the 3 Wes Craven Nightmare on Elm Street, 1, 3, and 5. So those are the ones worth watching. Those are the ones that follow the same story. 2 is a completely different story, and I believe 4 is also. So and pretty much none of the other ones have good reviews at all.
Yeah, for sure.
I also watched, I'm just going to rattle a few of these off here.
Yeah, definitely.
Choose or Die, Till Death, Smile, which also came out this year. Terrifier, the original Halloween, which I gotta say, it's a little overrated.
Oh, yeah, so overhyped.
Here's my hot take of 2022. The original Halloween isn't that good.
Yes.
It's a good movie.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It is not one of the best horror movies ever made. I understand for its time.
Yeah,
it was
definitely
phenomenal. And it is probably the reason we have so much horror that we do today. But it really wasn't. I was expecting one of the best slasher films ever, one of the best horror movies ever, one of the best like iconic villains ever.
Yeah.
And it just,
for sure,
it wasn't that.
Yeah, like you said, at the time it was definitely genre changing. But we weren't there, you
Right.
know, and we've got to
And-
experience a lot of different horror and a lot of horror that has been, again, genre changing.
Right.
So it's like, it feels like the bar just keeps getting upped, and it's sad because we might not have the same appreciation for older movies like Halloween as
But
other people
At
would.
the same time, though, people will be like, well, you have to account for its time. But no, you don't. Because I watched Jaws this year,
Right.
and Jaws is phenomenal. It's one of the
yeah.
best horror movies I've ever seen.
Sure.
So is, let's see, what are some of the other old ones I
Suspiria.
watched? Suspiria is a phenomenal movie. We
Yeah.
watched The Thing, not in 2022. That's why we're not
Right.
talking about it.
Yes.
But The Thing
Yeah.
was a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
Even, I don't know if I don't think I would say Friday the 13th is better than Halloween. I think Halloween is better than.
They're good for different reasons.
Yeah,
it's like
definitely.
every time you think one is better than the other, you realize something else
Right.
that makes it not
Yeah,
as better.
I
not as better.
Was literally doing that. as
yeah,
I was thinking
exactly.
about
It's
it. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that just because a movie came out and it was great when it came out doesn't mean that it needs to be considered great
sure.
to this day.
Yes.
Because I think that is an insult to the great ones.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the fact that Suspiria and Jaws and Alien, assuming I haven't seen it yet,
Right.
the fact that those movies are still considered some of the best ever made,
Yeah.
and they hold up to this day and are still like I would put all of those in best horror ever made.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't put Halloween in the conversation.
Yeah, honestly, me neither. Like you said, it's like it's just, you know, it's there, and it's kind of insulting to greater movies because it kind of sets the bar super low. So it's like if you say this movie's better than Halloween, it's like, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, does that mean it's great, or does it mean it's like better than Halloween? You know,
I think Halloween is a solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
I think
it's a good movie, but there's a lot to be desired.
I think I gave it 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, somewhere around there.
Go ahead and rattle off a few more from your list.
Okay, well, easily I can rattle off all of the Scream movies that have come out so far.
5?
Thus far.
Yep.
Yes, all 5, which was I hate to say it, but kind of life-changing. Loved those movies so much. I do have major beef with 4, as we all know, but moving on from that, I don't think we really need to talk about them because
we've talked about them so much. And Scream 6 is coming out this year.
Yes.
And
so
we will
excited.
do a
Yes.
deep dive into the Scream
Exactly,
franchise.
yes. I watched Suspiria in 1977, which we mentioned.
Same.
Fear Street. I watched the whole Fear Street
That's right.
series.
Yeah.
I mean, series. It's like
We watched this
yeah.
together.
Yeah, which is 3 movies, 1994, 1978, and 1666.
Yep. And all 3 of those were solid.
Yeah, great.
Definitely worth watching if you haven't seen them.
Definitely.
None of them are amazing, but none of them are bad.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like so the characters are either like you love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
I happened to hate most of the characters, which made it maybe less enjoyable, but by the last movie I was starting to be more
The movies
open to-
progressively get better.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
part 1 is the worst.
Yeah.
And I don't know, part 2 and 3 I go back and forth on.
Yeah,
They're
for
both
sure.
very good.
I love part 2 because Sadie Sink is in it, and I love Sadie Sink. So I feel like that would be my favorite, but I agree. I feel like 1666, the storyline is probably better, and it is, I think personally, maybe the most scary out of all of them.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that is there, but I just 1978, Sadie Sink, chef's kiss.
I watched Willy's Wonderland, Night of the Living Dead, Halloween Ends, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, The Dead Don't Die, Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, It Follows, Trick or Treat, Werewolf by Night, which was the Marvel Halloween special.
Oh,
Which is actually really good. I was
Okay.
very impressed
Yeah.
with it.
Interesting.
It's black and white, old style.
Oh,
It's
cool.
very good. It's got good
So
music.
cool.
It's got great acting. Yeah. I was very impressed. Then I also watched Malignant, The Menu, Terrifier 2, which is way better than Terrifier.
Really?
Terrifier is not a good movie. I understand
It's
why
just
it's a
gross.
cult classic,
That's
but
what I've
yeah,
heard.
it's literally just gore
Yeah.
and gross.
Unnecessary
There's not
gore.
really any story.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Sure.
It's not for me. I get why it's a cult classic.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why it got so much momentum is because of Art the Clown, who is played by... He's the same guy who did The Grinch. And
Really?
You're a Mean One. Or The Mean One.
The Mean One. Really? Oh. Wow. I would not have guessed that it's... I mean, Terrifier is such a big franchise, and The Mean One is probably much lesser known than Terrifier.
David Howard Thornton.
Yes. Okay.
Well, I mean, Terrifier, until Terrifier 2, Terrifier was very much a cult
that's
classic.
true, yeah.
And it's, again, it's not very good at all.
Yeah, the first one?
David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown is very good in it. And they came back and did Terrifier 2. It's so much better.
Yeah.
It actually has somewhat of a story to it.
Sure.
We still get David as Art the Clown, and his performance is amazing. We get more interesting characters. You get characters you actually care about. The first one, it's just like two drunk girls, and you have no reason to care about them. They're drunk and stranded, and
it's
spoiler
like,
alert, they get murdered. Like, what?
No, they do?
It's not very good.
Not really, yeah.
But I was very impressed with Terrifier 2. And then I also watched Sissy, which is a Australian horror movie, I believe, which also came out this year.
Right.
And I was very good. It has kind of an interesting twist to it, and it's got a neat story, and it's got some very infuriating characters and some good characters.
Oh, interesting.
And then Barbarian and just the Christmas horror movies.
Nice.
So that was all of the new horror I watched this year, which came out to 39 movies.
Right. Not new horror, just horror that you watched this year.
New to me horror.
New to me, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. I watched a few things this year based off of Stephen King novels, which was really exciting to me. I watched The Mist, which was, it was good for a short story, it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life. I wouldn't say it was like terrible. It's just like not very scary. There is some pretty good effects in it though. There is one scene in particular that when my dad and I watched it, we both went, ooh, because it's just like so gross. And then I watched Carrie, the 2013 version, which was, whatever. It's more book accurate, which I'm a snob for book accuracy. But,
definitely.
The classic Carrie is always going to be classic and always going to be better because it's just, it might not be as book accurate, but it is just so good.
One of the big things in movies for the past, 5-ish years, probably a little more than that, has been remakes. And the horror genre has not taken to that. The remakes for the horror genre have all been pretty awful.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially in comparison to the originals. I have not seen the remake for The Thing, but just looking at reviews of it, it is...
it's brutal.
Yeah, it's night and day difference.
Yeah.
Like, the average review for it on Letterboxd is like 2.7, which is bad. And the original is like 4.3, which is...
really great.
The new one has like 3 times the amount of half-star reviews the original does, and then like 5 times less 5-star reviews than the original does.
Yeah.
Which I am kind of happy about. Same with Poltergeist got remade.
Oh,
and
I didn't know
that bombed. It did really bad. And I'm kind of happy about that because I don't want them to... I want new stuff.
Right,
like,
yes.
Make new movies, or if you want to go back and do sequels or requels, as Scream 5 calls some of them, like that's fine. But I'm not a fan of remakes, generally speaking, at least.
Yeah, especially when it's something that's so good to begin with. Like, why touch something if it's already good?
Yeah, why does The Thing need to be remade? That movie is phenomenal and still looks great. It holds up
it does.
really well. So I don't know why you would do that.
I know, it's such a bummer, and it's always so sad because it's like, you would think that they would be better nowadays because we have like better visual effects and all that kind of stuff, but it's like it always looks so like cheap to me.
Also,
and like,
if you're gonna remake it and effects is the reason you want to remake it, keep the same script.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree.
I feel like that doesn't happen, and I don't understand why.
No.
Like, why do you need to change a masterpiece?
Right.
Like,
yes.
if you want to remake it, keep the same script.
Yeah.
Or alter it slightly.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be word for word, but
right.
don't introduce new characters.
Yeah.
Don't change which characters die.
Yeah,
Don't
definitely.
do any. You're remaking the movie. This is what they do when they make. Wow. Speaking English is difficult. When they make movies based off books, and when they make more movies based off the same book, the story doesn't change. Because they're making a movie about the book.
Right.
So you're making a movie about the original script. Like,
right.
why do you see the need to change any of that? I don't understand at all. Some of the worst remakes, Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street, those movies are horrible. They came out like early 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
So I guess the remake thing has been happening for more like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Why do you need to do that?
Right.
And the new Friday the 13th, I'm gonna spoil something about Friday the 13th, so skip past real quick. The new Friday the 13th, Jason is the killer. I guess I don't know. I don't remember if it's a remake of the original or if it's just like a new entry into the series.
I've heard it's a remake.
In A Nightmare on Elm Street, it is a remake.
Yes.
And it's just like, it doesn't. Why do we need to leave Nancy? Like, let's recast Nancy. Let's remake it.
Right.
Basically, shot for shot, better effects.
Yes, please.
And
better effects, please.
And you would have a solid movie.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess I could see people not wanting to go see those movies.
Sure.
Considering they are just a carbon copy.
Yeah, definitely.
But it would be better than what they did.
I know, so true.
If you are going to stray from the script, you better be sure it's going to be better than the original.
Yes, absolutely.
And again, when we're talking masterpieces, that's basically impossible to do.
Right.
Imagine if they remade Scream, and then that's kind of what they did for the Scream TV show.
Yeah.
Which, have you watched any of it?
No, I'm scared
Stay away from it. It's so bad.
Yeah.
The mask in the first season is like clear.
That's right. You said that, and I was like,
what? It doesn't make any sense at all.
That doesn't add up.
Let me see if I can find it.
Find the TV show?
Yeah.
While you're doing that, I will continue with my list. I think I brought this up last time, but Mr. Harrigan's Phone, it's not, not really horror, but it's listed as horror on Netflix, so I'm just going to count it. And the book is horror, so.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily clear, but this was The Mask in season 1.
Oh my gosh.
I'll throw it up on the screen so people can see it, but they recreated the popular picture.
I have no words.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say.
It's so bad.
I can't even believe that. Oh my god.
And then I think in the later season they used the original mask.
That's so and the what is it called? Like the not title screen. When you click on the show to watch and it has a picture up top, just
the title screen.
It is the normal mask.
Right.
So
I think in the newest season they are using the original mask, but that is I guess you could say, because it's the same name, that it's a complete and total remake, and it's horrible.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's terrible.
So Mr.
Harrigan's Phone.
Yep.
Not really anything to say about that. It's just a movie. Barbarian, like you had watched.
So let's talk about Barbarian.
Okay.
Because you didn't like it very much.
Yeah. What can I say? I really didn't. It felt like it was going to be so good, and then I just had a major letdown, and I felt like the whole it was like ooh.
Was it?
That's how it felt for me.
Story-wise that you didn't like, or
yeah, story-wise, and it was a bit of a bummer because I feel like it had a ton of potential to be scary, and it was kind of a twist thing, which it felt like the twist was not. It was it was just
I think you really missed out on this movie from not going to a theater.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I saw this movie in theaters, and it was one of the best theater movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because there is a twist in it, and the twist is so confusing, and especially in a theater when you can kind of feel the entire room is really tense.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Then something happens.
Yeah.
And like but throughout this movie, you just hear this awkward conversation in the theater, like, what is going on?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't understand. And you hear like awkward and uncomfortable laughter. And when we watched it, we didn't really get that.
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure.
I actually on the rewatch, I think I saw it twice in theaters.
Yeah.
And both times I really enjoyed it. But when we watched it at home, I kind of felt the same way. I'm like, this is kind of, it's a little lackluster.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly what I was thinking.
Which is unfortunate. I still think it's a solid movie. I think I currently have it at a 3 out of 5, maybe a 3.5 out of 5.
I think I put 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, and I do think it is better than that, but I understand the reasons.
And the ending was just like, ooh, what the crap is going on?
Yeah, so
I was like,
the director took a lot of inspiration from Sam Raimi, and if you've seen Sam Raimi movies, you will. So he's made horror movies, but I think the only Sam Raimi stuff you've seen is probably the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's a lot of cheese
you don't need to say
Sam
anymore.
Raimi stuff. Yeah. So he made a movie called Drag Me to Hell, which has like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
and I hated it. It's
no.
so awkward and cheesy, and I don't understand why people like that movie at all. But Sam Raimi has his little cult following, and those people love everything that Sam Raimi does.
I've never heard of that person before, which is shocking to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
I know, because that seems like a name that I would definitely remember. But
yeah, I want to say, and I'm not going to say it,
okay,
because I would be so embarrassed if I got this wrong. Okay, yeah, he did do Evil Dead. I was like, I am so sure he did Evil Dead.
Yeah.
But then I was like, if I say Sam Raimi did Evil Dead and he didn't, this is gonna be
we're gonna be canceled on our 4th episode.
Right. No one will ever listen again. Yeah. Which they might not anyways, because I was not 100% confident about that.
Yeah, true.
So. Okay, back to your movies.
My next ones are probably gonna make some people upset. The Boy and The Boy 2.
Oh.
Have you seen them?
I've seen The Boy. I haven't seen the second one.
No need.
The first one is not good.
Yeah, neither is the second one.
I was actually really into the first one right up until the twist.
Yeah, it is the twist. I was like, and I kind of predicted it. Like early on, I was like, something's up.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I didn't really think they were gonna do it, and that's what made me like, oh.
I want to say that came out the same time as a horror movie called Winchester.
Oh.
Have you seen that one?
No,
or
but I definitely know what you're talking about.
I just kept thinking about 2022 as a horror year, and going back to like the year The Boy and Winchester came out.
Yes.
I saw both of those in theaters, and like,
oh, I'm sorry.
2022 was such a good year for horror. Yeah. Like it had Barbarian and Smile and Scream 5.
Yes.
It could have had nothing else, and still would have been one of the better years for horror.
And it had the mean one. What are you talking about? Forgetting something.
Well, then it gets topped off with The Menu.
Right.
And that just... It was a great year. Have I expressed that enough yet? Because I don't.
One more time.
It was a great year.
Okay, moving on from The Boy, because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It Follows, which...
Great movie.
This was your first time watching it too? Did you say it? I didn't remember you said. Okay. And then Smile, same as you. Zombieland 2. I don't know what the correct title is for it. It's not really
Double Tap. Okay.
Have
you seen Zombieland before?
No, I have not. I still have not seen Zombieland. I know. It's kind of a bummer. And I know that that's kind of like, is it horror? Is it not? I'm counting it as horror because
it's
scary. I feel like if you didn't not that this means anything, but if you weren't well versed in horror, you would see it and be like, that was a horror movie, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Because when you say that, and I'm like, well, because I saw Shaun of the Dead for the first time this year.
Right.
Like, it's Shaun of the Dead horror.
True.
And they're very similar in the ways, like, they're both comedic zombie movies.
Definitely.
I feel like they probably are listed as horror,
Yeah.
but they're
It's like,
not.
Yeah,
They're
no, I
definitely
didn't
more
feel
comedy.
afraid at any point.
Yeah.
Except for when there was vomiting. I was very afraid
True.
during the vomiting scenes. I'm a big emetophobe. So, just so you know.
We have to look it up before every movie.
Every single movie we go to watch a movie.
Shout out to doesthedogdie.com.
Yes, if you have any sensitivities or anything like that to vomiting or dragons
Literally
dying,
anything else, yeah.
you just look it up on doesthedogdie.com. Okay, moving on. Willy's Wonderland. You also watched that. Fire,
movie ever.
yes. Firestarter. Also Stephen King. Drew Barrymore as a child.
Yeah.
Have you seen Firestarter?
No.
It's not really worth it.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, when is this gonna be over? Honestly,
That's the worst.
I know, and I will say it was good for the time again.
Sure.
And Drew Barrymore, it was cool to see her as a child because I hadn't seen her as a child act in anything before, and then it was just like kind of an interesting movie, and it like. The characters weren't super strong in what they were. Like, there was one character that I felt like he changed constantly, like his morals and stuff. But the whole thing takes place over the course of like a few days, I think. So it's like,
interesting.
why are you changing so much?
Sure.
Are you okay? You know? Which he wasn't. But still, it's like,
Maybe
know.
that's why.
yeah. And then, you didn't watch any 2020 like new horror shows, so I'm just going to.
Did we get? Yeah, we did. We got some new horror shows.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
I started
I mean-
Wednesday. I haven't finished Wednesday yet.
Oh,
but-
I'm just saying like
Wednesday's also not really horror.
like my first time watching through
right.
2022
yeah, I
horrors.
don't think so. I
shows.
think I rewatched some
Yeah.
with you, but
Yeah, so this year I watched Yellow Jackets for the first time, which is great.
Yellow Jackets is so good.
Perfect. I love it.
I watched 9 episodes straight,
Mhm.
and I needed a break because I literally started at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then I just took like a
Powered
6-hour
through
nap
it, yeah.
and then watched episode 10.
Yes, absolutely. Love it. Everyone needs to watch
Season
Yellow
2
Jackets.
started filming already.
Yes. So exciting. The cast is amazing. Did you know?
It either started filming or they set a date to start filming.
Did you know that the girl, I can't remember their character names. The one in Yellow Jackets that's like kind of crazy with the glasses and the curly hair.
Misty.
Yes. Do you know who she is? She was the original Wednesday in the first Addams Family
Whoa,
movie,
really?
and she's in Wednesday the show. I don't know who she.
I knew
Yeah.
she was in Wednesday.
Yeah.
She was in the show. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Anyway, just a little Easter egg. I'm sure all of you watching probably know that, and Luke is just uncultured because it's kind of
Yeah,
on everything right
probably.
now. But and then Midnight Mass was the other one that I watched for the first time this year, which you have not seen, so I won't say very much about it. All I will say is that I figured it out so early on, and I'm very curious to see if you will. Anyway,
I go back and forth on how much I want to try and figure stuff out, though.
I love it. It's like my favorite thing.
I agree with you, and especially when it's like murder mystery kind of thing.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I like to try and figure it out, but at the same time, so when I watched Scream 5,
Mhm.
I didn't try to figure it out at all. I was
Right.
like, I'm just along for the ride. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna try and figure it out, which is very hard to do in a Scream movie.
Scream,
And
yeah.
I was trying to, and I was still kind of thinking about it.
Right.
But sometimes I like just letting the movie take me where it wants to take me.
Right. Yes.
Especially because some writers, directors are very bad at hiding it. Like, and sometimes it's super disappointing. So there's a movie called Last Shift. It's a decent horror movie.
Uh-huh.
There's a twist in it though.
Okay.
And maybe like a third of the way through the movie, I was like, oh, this is exactly how the movie's going to end.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it happened. And I was like, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Like, because it's not that it was a bad ending, but it was so obvious to me that that's how it was going to end that I was hoping it was going to take it in a different direction. Because if I can figure it out that quickly, I feel like I'm pretty good at figuring stuff out in movies,
definitely.
especially if I'm trying. But I wasn't even necessarily trying when I was watching that movie, and it just kind of fell into my lap.
Right.
So sometimes I try to not figure stuff out. Sometimes I do. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I go back and forth on it.
Definitely. I go back and forth too because well, as we know, I like to guess every possible
Yes.
outcome and then say that I got it right, which I always do get it right at some point, just saying.
Once you've guessed every single person is the killer in a Scream movie, yes, you will get it right.
But
I swear, you just like pull up the cast list and like, this person did it, this person did it, this person did it, this person did it. Like, oh yeah, called it.
Yeah, I got it. Look out, everyone. I'm the best guesser in the whole world. No, I feel like if I don't try to figure it out, I just figure it out easily. So it's hard to explain because like if I try to figure it out, I have a harder time figuring it out. But if I don't try to figure it out, I'm like more observant and I notice like one thing and I'm like, okay, well, there it is, which is how it was.
Yeah.
That's how I was when I first started watching horror movies.
Sometimes, though, I also, like, I get disappointed when I'm wrong. So, for instance,
True.
when we were watching the Harry Potter movies this year and we got to Half-Blood Prince, it's like, who's the Half-Blood Prince? And it's like, well, I don't really want to try and figure this out. Yeah. But Liz was like, have you figured it out yet?
Yeah.
Who do you think it is? And I'm like, well, I don't really want to try and figure this out. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why it would be this person.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the Half-Blood Prince is Tom Riddle. Don't know why. Doesn't make any sense. I have no reason to think that.
Which that was a good guess. Sure,
like,
yeah.
I mean, it wasn't though,
but
because it was so obvious. But then when you find out who it is,
it's like,
I'm like, that was so, I literally paused the movie.
Yes,
I don't know if you remember. Like,
I remember.
But I paused it before you find out. And like, of course it is. Like, this was so stupid. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm now angry that I didn't get it.
Right.
And I was technically trying to figure it out, I guess.
Right.
And it's like, so
You were very upset that you did not get
it. Because it's so obvious.
It is, but it's so obvious that you're like, is it obvious? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So I don't know. Sometimes I just try to
be low key.
And just
because then you get too frustrated.
And then also, sometimes I feel like the director wants you to do that.
Yeah.
So in a Scream movie, you should go into it trying to figure it out.
Yes.
They want you to try. They want you to try. See if you can.
They want you to try and fail. They want you to guess every single person.
Want you to fail,
yes,
right?
exactly.
But then other movies, I feel like that's not the point. The point is they're just trying to take you on a little journey.
Yeah.
And if you figure it out, it's like, well, what's the point in watching the movie at this point?
Yeah,
like, you might as well just skip to the end.
Right, definitely. The last section I have to talk about is just the books that I read for the first time, the horror books that I read for the first time this year, which I was pretty proud. It wasn't very, very many, but I was pretty proud of how many I read. And I need to learn to venture outside of Stephen King because I read I read 7 total horror books and I think 5 of them were Stephen King, I'm pretty sure. Nope. 4 of them, which is still quite a bit. I read The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which is right there on our shelf.
Yes, it is.
It was so good. If you've seen the show, you need to know the book is different than the show. But no.
Okay, but it's not about siblings.
Yes,
and it doesn't take place in past and future.
No, it doesn't.
So it's totally different.
It is not. All the characters are the same names and like the same events happen and like all that kind of stuff. They're just not siblings. They're just taking part in an experiment.
Yeah, they're just not siblings and nothing happened when they were children. It's completely different.
Okay, whatever you say.
Says the person who hasn't read the book.
Yeah, literally. Loser. Okay, and then I read Carrie by Stephen King, which was so good. I was Carrie for Halloween this year because I loved Carrie's character so much. I felt
Carrie's
Carrie's character. I just like maybe this is a red flag. Tell me if it is. I like related to her for some reason. I was like, dang, I can kind of see where she's coming from. Obviously, when can I talk about this?
Empathized or related?
I guess empathize. I guess that's a better word.
Yeah.
Okay, there were some times I related to her, but not when she was like, murdering people. But I definitely, like I feel like when you read the book, you're just like, oh, Carrie, that's sad. And then after that, I read Salem's Lot by Stephen King, which was very good as well. I loved Salem's Lot. I just love Stephen King. I'm a Stephen King fiend. I am obsessed with Stephen King's work.
Yeah, we have no Stephen King
I know,
books.
which is very disappointing, and I need to bring some for us to have. I don't have any hardcover books though, so that's a bummer. Hardcover books of his, I mean. And then and then I read The Shining by Stephen King. It is like top 3 my favorite books. It was incredible. It is way different than the movie.
Really?
Way different than the movie.
Isn't
There's
it massive?
I think it's 700 pages. I could be wrong.
So it's
Which
not
is
that
like,
big. How
it's-
big is it?
It is like literally like 1,800 pages
Okay.
or something like that. I could be wrong, but because I haven't read it, but
Stop.
but The Shining was so fantastic. Like, I don't care what you do. If
So
you
is the movie like a retelling of the book, or
It
is it
is-
just kind of a different? Do the book and the movie take place in the same timeline?
yes, it is
or-
same characters, same timeline.
Okay.
The events that happen in the movie are totally different than what happens in the book. Like, it is, and I can't say very much without spoiling
Did
what
it
happens in
make the movie better or worse?
way worse.
Really?
Yes, the book was fantastic. There is a particular death scene in the book that is like the scariest thing I've ever read, and
Wow.
maybe like if it was in a movie and I had seen it, it probably would have been the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my whole life too.
Wow.
It is pretty terrifying. And then I read If It Bleeds by Stephen King, which is a collection of short novellas, which include Mr. Harrigan's Phone, like the movie, The Life of Chuck, If It Bleeds, and Rat. And all of them were very good. I would not, if you purchase If It Bleeds and decide to read it, I would not skip any of these stories. They're all really good. And they make you, certain ones make you literally think about life differently. I don't know how to explain it without revealing too much, but. And then I read Bird Box by Josh Mallerman, which was, you know,
Can you say that
if
with
you
any more
say-
disgust?
if you've seen the movie, the book is no better than the movie, which is unfortunate. I might even venture to say the movie's better than the book, to be honest, which is
Ooh.
Josh Mallerman. He's a great storyteller, but I just I'm not a fan of the characters and stuff. And then I read Mallory by Josh Mallerman, which is the sequel to Bird Box, which I liked.
Interesting.
I might say I liked more than Bird Box, certain aspects,
Sure.
but I would say they're short. So if you want to read horror books, but you aren't really sure how to get into them, or you don't really want to start with ones that are like super duper long, start with them. They're like 300 pages or something like that, and they're super easy to get through. They were good. I would probably honestly read them again, not happily. No, I would read them again with a frown on my face, but I would read them again. So in total, I watched 44 new movies this year, and then
Yeah.
I watched 2 new shows this year, new to me, all of these, and then I watched 7 or read
Watched
7.
7
I
books.
watched them. I didn't actually read them, everyone. I just
I
watched
guess
them.
you do technically watch a book, right?
You do technically, yeah. I guess that's true, which is really weird to think about.
You should just
Never
replace
say
watch
read.
with read.
Yes, agreed. That's gonna happen now.
Please no.
Yes, so 7 books, 2 shows, 44 movies total for me.
That's a lot.
I'm pretty impressed.
I watched 39 new movies.
Yeah.
I watched way more than that. That's a lot of movies.
It is a lot.
October definitely.
Yes, it went.
Woo! Skyrocketed.
Yes.
That, which I fully intend to do next year.
Yeah, definitely.
This will be really interesting to see what our list look like next year.
Yeah.
Because if we're gonna watch as many movies as I think we're going to watch,
It'll be a lot.
we will not be able to do this type of episode.
Yes, no,
next year.
for sure. Absolutely.
Which I actually hope that is the case, because I do want to do a like horror movie
Yes, that would
awards
be
show.
so fun.
So
would
we
be
need to
sick.
stay on top of 2023. Megan coming out this Thursday.
Yes,
As of listening,
Megan,
it came out
Megan.
yesterday, and I hope it is as terrible as it looks.
What? It looks perfect. I can't see
I'm
anything
very
wrong
much
with it.
looking forward to it, though. So let's do. Do you want to do our top 5 list
Mhm.
or our favorite 2022 movie first?
I'm gonna say favorite 2022 horror movie first.
So
Does that
what
make
was
sense?
your favorite 2022 horror movie? So this is one of the movies that came out in 2022.
Yes, exactly. Mine would be Smile. I liked Smile.
Really?
Yeah, and it was, it wasn't like the best movie I've ever seen in my whole life, and there's a few things about it that I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
that could have been changed. But I actually really liked it, and I felt like I felt
good.
like tense during some parts of the movie,
Yeah.
which is impressive to me.
So this is not the best movie of 2022.
Yeah.
But it is my favorite movie of 2022, and it's Scream 5. How could it not be? It's my favorite horror genre. Scream is my favorite
horror franchise.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry. I think I did that.
You
last
did.
episode.
It's okay.
So if I was not allowed to give it to Scream 5, it would 100% go to the menu, which we will talk about more in a little bit. Spoiler alert. But so let's get into our top 5 favorite movies of the year. Yeah. This is not related to movies that came out this year specifically.
Yes.
This is just movies that we saw. So when we do this list, we will go through it one at a time. And then if either of the movies on either one of our lists is higher than the other, then we'll say higher.
Yeah.
And then we'll wait to talk about it till then. How many do you think are overlapping?
I think definitely at least 3.
At least 3?
That's what I think. Maybe, hold on. Maybe, no, 2. At least 2.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I was going to say 2.
Yeah.
So you say 3 and I'll say 2.
Okay.
And we'll see who's right.
Okay.
Why don't you start first?
Okay. I had, in the number 5 position, I had the movie Hush because I just liked it. And I liked all the little tidbits in it that you could pick out as a Mike Flanagan fan.
Sure. I had Jaws.
Okay, good. That's a good choice.
So, Jaws definitely lived up to the hype.
Yeah.
It's
a great movie.
I don't think it's. Let's see. Let me pull up Letterboxd real quick. I want to see what I gave it.
You gave it like a 3.5, I think.
No, I gave it more.
4.5.
You have Jaws at a 4. I gave it a 4.5.
Oh, okay.
And I think it is almost a perfect movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think it holds a lot of rewatch value for me.
That's the thing. I've only seen it once in my whole life.
I would have to rewatch it to see if that's true.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of just like you're watching to see what's going to happen. And like once you know what happens, I feel like it takes a lot of the suspense away. Maybe that's not the case. I will probably watch it again in the future and then I'll have to talk about it. But it's a solid 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Jaws was a great movie.
It was a great movie, yeah, for sure. And it's I feel like it's one of those movies that you can watch with, like, as long as the person you're watching with isn't squeamish about blood, like you can watch it with just like any of your friends, you know, which I think is great. And I think that's the most important thing about movies is that it brings people together and you can like find connection through movies and things like that. And I just
definitely
like I have a few friends that don't like horror movies that have watched Jaws and they all liked it. So that's a great movie. In number 4, I have Smile.
Okay. I do not.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about Smile.
Yeah.
It was let's see. What did we give Smile?
Oh, I did not rate it very high, to be honest, which is kind of weird because it's at such a high spot on my list. But
I
just
gave it a 3, and I give it a 3.5. I mean, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's got a very interesting story.
Yeah.
I feel like it didn't know if it wanted to be like an artsy horror movie or like a Blumhouse horror movie, which I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, definitely. Like, no, I totally get what you're saying. You know what
kind of horror movies Blumhouse makes.
Yes.
And this really felt like just a generic Blumhouse horror film. But then, and it kind of was that, but it was a very good version of that.
Yeah, definitely.
But then you just got these really weird artsy shots
that made you
like,
true.
Are you trying to be like Kubrick or
definitely.
Or like what are you doing here?
What's going on?
Like there's one where it like is following a car and I think it follows
True,
the car
it goes
all the way over.
Yeah.
It's like a really long shot. Yeah. It's a very cool shot.
It is.
But there's a couple of those throughout the movie and those just feel out of place.
Yeah.
Smile has great jump scares in it.
Yeah, it does. True.
Yeah, I mean, I think Smile's a good movie to be on the list.
Yeah, definitely.
In my number 4, I have Night of the Living Dead.
I have not seen.
Definitely worth a watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's a black and white horror movie. And it's black and white because it's low budget, not because of the time that it came out.
Right.
And it was cheaper to
that.
do black and white than to do color.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. It has a great cast in it. It really did kind of create the modern day zombie. And so, I mean, it spawned a ridiculous amount of it spawned a genre out of it, basically.
True, which is very impressive.
It's a phenomenal movie. It's definitely worth a watch. I think it's kind of short also.
Okay, interesting.
I gave it a 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5. And 96 minutes. So it is kind of
that wouldn't strike me as a movie that would be not very long. Like that is a good movie length, you know. It strikes me as a movie that would be like 2 hours.
Sure. So what is your number 4?
No, number 3. My number 3. Sorry. Unless are you done talking about yours?
What I just did my number 3.
Did you?
Jaws was my number 5. Did I skip It Follows?
Yes.
Oh, whoops. So, Jaws is my number 5. And then you did your number 4.
Yes.
My number 5 is It Follows.
Okay. Oh, I see. We're doing it reversed.
Oh.
So I was saying number 1 is like the top.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
So number 1 is my favorite movie of the year. So number 5 was Jaws.
Okay.
Number 4 is It Follows.
Yes, okay.
Number 3 is Night of the Living Dead.
I see. I'm understanding.
My bad.
I'm tracking now. I'm following.
It Follows. Is higher? Is it on your list?
Nope.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, sorry. But Smile is, and they're very similar.
Yeah, kind of.
You better be joking. They are so similar. The whole time I was watching Smile, I was like, wait, It Follows Part 2? What's going on?
I understand why you would say that. It does kind of have a similar aspect to it for sure. It Follows is definitely the better movie comparatively, though.
I don't know. I kind of disagree with that.
You don't like It Follows?
It's hard to, because I liked it. I definitely liked it. It was just like, you know.
You only give it a 3.
Yeah, that's a lot to me.
3 out of 5.
I mean, that is actually, that's a little to me. I don't really give movies less than 3 unless they're terrible. It was like the whole time I was just like, and it was like I would definitely rewatch it again. And I thought the cinematography was really well done, but it just like the whole time I was like kind of like not bored exactly. I was just like, oh, look, the same thing's happening again, because it just like repeats the same thing over and over again.
I think how they try and get away is very interesting.
Yeah, true. That is
like
interesting.
how they try and avoid the villain. Because I think it's really easy to watch the movie and be like, oh, well, I would do this. And it's like, well, you're not.
You're not in the shoes.
You're like, you're not in. Yeah, exactly. You don't know what this feels like.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're thinking rationally.
Right.
Which you see irrational thinking, but you can also understand it too.
Yeah.
It's not like classic horror movie, like instead of getting in the car and driving away, they hide behind the chainsaws.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
You know,
yes.
like it's not that.
Yeah.
It's like, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely one of the better horror movies of the 2010s.
Yeah. Oh, I would agree with that for sure. So now I'll talk about my third.
Yes.
And then just move on to my second, or would you like to talk about your second?
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about your second after I talk about my third. My third was Willy's Wonderland.
Higher.
I knew it.
Okay, so we'll talk about my 2.
Yes.
And my 2 is The Menu.
You better be joking. Does this mean?
So The Menu is number 2. It is probably the best horror movie of 2022. I don't want to say too much about it because it's still fairly new in theaters. So, I mean, definitely go watch it. Anya Taylor-Joy does a phenomenal job, and so does the
chef guy,
the main character. Yeah, the chef, Julian Slowik, did a great job. all of the cast in this movie did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
The cast is great. The story is good. And it's just kind of, I'm going to stop talking about it because I don't want to spoil anything, for anybody. So just go watch it. Great movie.
Yeah. My number 2, which I'm shocked. I thought, so we only had one overlap, I think.
What is your number 2?
Suspiria.
Higher.
That does not make any sense.
So
you better be joking.
So
you cheated.
yes, I did. I have
He
6.
cheated.
So Suspiria is my number
cheater.
1. Suspiria is my favorite movie of 2022.
You cheated.
But Willy's Wonderland is my true favorite of 2022. But yes, Suspiria is.
Yeah. Suspiria 1977.
Yes, I
clarification.
was very surprised how good this movie was.
Oh my gosh.
It
was so beautiful. I literally cried.
I don't know what other word to describe that movie, and it's so strange to describe a horror movie as beautiful.
It made me emotional.
It's such a pretty movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very colorful movie.
Yes.
It's got a good story. It's got a great cast.
Oh yeah.
It has one of the better final girls.
Oh, absolutely.
Any of
Agreed.
the cast. We'll do an episode on Final Girls eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll talk about her a little bit more. But yeah, Suspiria was amazing. But nothing beats Willy's Wonderland. It is the best movie of all time.
True.
It is a 5 out of 5.
So
it is
good.
the only movie I like on Letterboxd, and it is the best movie of all time.
It is so good. It is. Oh my gosh! It literally. It's one of those movies that is like you wish you could like. That movie could be a person in front of you so that you could kiss it because it's so good. I kind of got it super easy to pick my number 1 because I had never seen this like franchise before, and this was my first time. Yeah, Scream.
Yeah, of course
immediately.
I was
never gonna change.
confused how Suspiria wasn't number 1.
Yeah, I was very
surprised by some of the movies that didn't make your list.
Really?
So no Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, which is
Smile over Nightmare on Elm Street.
It's hard for me because I really liked Nightmare on Elm Street, but I felt like I don't know how to explain it. Like I felt more compelled to put Smile on my list just because of how I felt when I watched it, and like if we're talking about the best movies, then my list would be totally different.
Definitely,
Scream would still probably be number 1.
Willy's Wonderland, which would still be number 1.
Yes, immediately. Oh, you're right. Mine would be Willy's Wonderland over Scream for sure.
Be.
Yeah.
The funny thing is you're saying it ironically and I'm not. But those are our movies that we watched.
Yeah.
It was a great year.
It was such a good year.
It was a great year for horror. It was a great year to catch up on old movies, which we both did quite a bit of. And I am so excited for 23. We've got a great slate of movies.
Yes,
we've already
exciting.
I think we've already got 2 horror movies coming out this month.
Yes.
And then we've got a couple coming out in February, and they're big releases. We're getting Scream 6. It's gonna be. We're getting a new Ari Aster film this year, starring Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes,
so
very exciting.
23 is gonna be a great year for horror, and we're gonna see a little more on top of 2023 horror movies. So that way we can do a true end of the year, like a year in a review, type show. But we will be back next week for our Friday the 13th special.
Woohoo!
And then we'll be back at the end of the month for our snowed in horror.
Yeah! Let's go.
That's all I got.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Slay.